and then check to make sure that they make sense, which I've already talked about. So for example, Roger Staubach and Terry Bradshaw, I'm sorry if I said that person's name wrong, were both quarterbacks in the National Football League. In 1973, Staubach threw 3 touchdown passes. Okay, so here we go. Let's kind of look and see what's important. Is it important the names of the people that were in the National Football League? It's really not important, except I could say, I'm going to call this person's variable S and this person's variable B. So Staubach and Bradshaw. That's what I could use from that information. In 1973, Staubach threw 3 touchdown passes more than twice the number of touchdown passes thrown by Bradshaw. Now that's a really important sentence. So we have to get some equation there, right? So we can say, let's see, so Staubach threw, so we could say Staubach threw 3 touchdown passes more, so equals plus 3, right? More than twice the number of touchdown passes thrown by Bradshaw, right? We have an equation that has to do with Staubach and Bradshaw. So hopefully now we've got one equation that will work for us. But unfortunately, that's not going to be enough because I have 2 unknowns and I can't figure it out from one equation. Let's leave that and go on to the next sentence. If the total number of touchdown passes between Staubach and Bradshaw was 33, how many touchdown passes did each player throw? Well, that means that S, Staubach plus Bradshaw, is going to equal 33. Now, I can also say here, I can say S is equal to touchdown passes by Staubach, in case you just want to use X and Y. You can write this somewhere so that you understand what you're doing. And this is touchdown passes by Bradshaw. Okay. And here I can say if I add the total number between Bradshaw and Staubach, I get 33. That's what the total remember was sum between Staubach and Bradshaw was 33. So the total number of touchdown passes that they threw together was 33. And we want to know now what S equals and what B equals. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on a new page. So S equals 2B plus 3. S equals 2B plus 3. And also we know that S plus B is equal to 33. Okay, so now we can start solving things. The easiest thing to do is, since I know what S equals in terms of B, I can just plug in that S and that S are the same, right? And since both S's are the same, I can say 2B plus 3, that's what S equals, plus B is equal to 33. Now I can solve this equation, right? So I have 2, I don't need to do anything to take these parentheses away. And now I combine like terms. So I have 2B plus B is equal to 3B plus 3 is equal to 33. I can subtract 3 from both sides. And I get 3B is equal to 30. Divide both sides by 3. The 3's cancel. And I get B equals 10. So 10 is the number of touchdown passes thrown by Bradshaw. So Bradshaw threw 10 touchdown passes. if Bradshaw threw 10 touchdown passes, and it doesn't matter which of these equations you use, maybe the easier one is S plus B equals 33, then we know that S plus 10 equals 33, which means if I subtract 10 from both sides, Staubach threw 23 passes. We actually now have an answer. Now let's see. So we first read the question until we understood it. So let me see, I'll go back. So we read the question here and we understood it. This was step 2 here. So all this right here was step 2, which was finding equations that help you solve this word problem. Here, this is step 3. Step 3 said solve the equation. And we're solving by, since I know what S equals, I plug it in for S, and then I have a new equation. Now, step 4, let me write it on the same screen. So step 4, let's see if the solution makes sense, okay? So we have Bradshaw equals 10 and Staubach equals 23. We know when we add them both up, we get 33, so that works. So S plus B equals 33. That's true, right? And then we want to make sure that Staubach threw 2 times the number of touchdowns that Bradshaw threw plus 3. So if I plug in B equals 10 here, I get 23. So as far as I can see, everything worked out and I have a solution. Okay, let's talk about this equation, this example. So the length of a college basketball court. So it says it's a rectangle. So the first thing we're going to do is read it. But as I'm reading it, if I can, I'm going to draw a picture. So sometimes drawing a picture, actually a lot of the times drawing a picture will help, especially if it's something you can draw a picture of. So the length of a college basketball court, which is rectangular, is 6. Okay, here. So here we have our equation, right? Is 6 feet less than twice its width. Okay, so how are we going to turn that into some kind of equation? So let's call this length and we'll call this width. And what does it say? The length is less than twice the width. Okay, so we have, and we can see that we have an equal sign because we have this is here, right? So we can say that L, which I'm going to say L is length. And I'm going to call W width. So the length is 6 feet less than, so is equal 6 feet less. I'm going to subtract 6 from whatever the next thing is, right? Because whatever I get, it's 6 feet less than that. And it says then twice the width, which is 2W. All right. So now I have an equation which says this is equal to 2W minus 6. And we have more information. And it's important that we have more information because I can't really solve this very well because I have to know what something equals, right? Now the perimeter, let me write it up here. The perimeter is if I were to walk around the outside of this rectangle, like I walk here and then I walk here and then I walk here and then I walk here, that's called the perimeter, okay? And the perimeter here is equal to, well, this side is also W and this side is also L. So it's W plus L plus W plus L, which is the same thing as 2L plus 2W. And in case it said area is always equal to length times width for a rectangle. So here we only really worry about the perimeter, but that gives me another equation because it tells me that 2L plus 2W is equal to 288. Let's rewrite these equations. So I have 2L plus 2W is equal to 288. And I also have 2W minus 6 is equal to L, or L equals 2W minus 6. Yes. Okay. Well, now I know enough because I can take, if I want to, I can take this L, which I know is equal to 2W minus 6, and I plug that in for L. So I get 2 times 2W minus 6, because that's L, plus 2W is equal to 288. And now I can solve this equation. So let's do it. We're going to distribute that 2. We get 4W minus 12 plus 2W is equal to 288. Let's combine like terms. So I have 4W and 2W. I get 6W minus 12 is equal to 288. I add 12 to both sides. These cancel. And I get 6W is equal to 300. Divide both sides by 6. And I now know that W equals 50. So now I know what my W is. So W is equal to 50. And I also know if W is equal to 50, I know L, because I know L equals 2 times W minus 6. So let's see what happens. If I put in 50 for W, I get 2 times 50 minus 6 equals L. 2 times 50 is 100, minus 6 equals L. So I'm just going to say here L equals 94. So now I have my 2 solutions. And basically what I want to do is just kind of check my answer now, right? So I have this chord, and if this is 94 and this is 50 and this is, then this side is 50 and this side is 94. If I add all that together, I get, well, 50 plus 50 is 100, and 94 plus 94 is 188, which gives me 288. Well, that checks out, right? And if I put in, well, we already know that if I plug in W for, to find L here, we already know that's how I started, so we already know that works. So everything I did seems to work out perfectly fine. And so now I have a solution to this equation. There's one more thing that I saw in the homework that wasn't in these PowerPoints, and I just wanted to do one of those problems for you. One problem that I saw in the homework, and I just copied one of them down. So it says one number is 8 times another number. Okay, period. Determine sorry about that. The 2 numbers if the sum of their reciprocals is 9 over 40. Okay, so we want to determine these two numbers. So let's see if we can figure out what this means. So we have two different numbers. Let's call one number X and one number Y, right? I don't care, it doesn't matter this time. So let's say X, how would I want to say this? Let's say that, so one number, so X is equal to whatever X is equal to, and let's say that Y is equal to 8 times that number. Okay, so now we have one number is 8 times another number. We can say that if X is equal, whatever X is, let's say it's equal to 2, Y is going to be equal to 16, because that one number is 8 times another number. And what we want to do is determine the two numbers. Now, reciprocal means that so if you have 2/3, the reciprocal is 3/2, right? If you have 2, the reciprocal is 1/2. So basically what we're doing is just flipping the fractions, because 2 is the same as 2 over 1, right? So now let's do the work. We have 1 over X plus 1 over Y is going to equal 9 over 40. Sorry about that noise. I don't know why I have that noise. Let's see. I don't know if that helped. Okay, but we know Y equals 8X. So we have 1 over X plus 1 over 8X is equal to 9 over 40. Now we have to get, whenever we want to add two fractions, we have to get a common denominator. So I don't really care about the right-hand side with the number because we're trying to make it equal to that number. But I can say that the only way to make these the same is if I multiply this by 8 over 8. Because I'm only multiplying by 1, right? 8 divided by 8 is 1, so I haven't changed this. But now I will have 8 over 8x plus 1 over 8x is equal to 9 over 40. I'm going to go this way, I think, which means that 9, because now I have a common denominator, I can just add the numerators. 9 over 8x is equal to 9 over 40. Well, since this matches with this, I only really have to solve for the denominator. Here, I would get x equals 5, because if x equals 5, 8 times 5 is 40, then the denominators would match. But let's say I had to do more work than that. So if I start with 1 over x plus 1 over x, so I'm going to start with 1 over x plus 1 over 8x equals 9 over 40. And let's say it wasn't going to be quite as simple. So again, I'm going to I still have to get a common denominator no matter what I do. So I'm going to multiply it by 8 over 8. So I get 8 over 8x plus 1 over 8x equals 9 over 40. So I get 9 over 8x equals 9 over 40. But let's say now I have to solve for x and it's not as simple as this one is. First thing I'd want to do is I want to make sure that I first get rid of my fractions, because it's very difficult to solve these problems with fractions. So I'm going to first multiply this side by 8x, because then I'll cancel the 8x's and I'll just have a 9. So I'm going to multiply this also by 8x, because whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So now I have 9 equals 72x over 40. And again, I don't really want this fraction, so I'm going to multiply both sides by 40. What happens now is I get 9 times 40 is 360. These are going to cancel, equals 72x. Divide both sides by 72. And I would get x equals still 5. Okay, so again, if you have to solve it where the numerators are not equal, like if this was 8 over 40, then we'd have a different story. Then I could actually solve it out like this. So hopefully that helps with your homework 1.2. Good luck. If you need anything, please come to my office hours, send me an email, whatever it is you need to do. Thank you very much, and we will get to the next video shortly.